Welcome to another week with Brent and Lee. So, we are today talking about the Fed and the results of the new rate hike and what's that going to mean for the market. Also, there's a lot of information out there on Goldman Sachs, Brent. And I pulled together some new information on the market and what's it doing nationwide. And we're going to look at all that. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Florida with the Washington Post article that just came out today. I have that information somewhere. So let's get into it, Brent. So let's talk about what happened today.
Yeah. That's a big hike. And, it was expected. So actually there was a 16% chance. They placed their bets actually in the futures market, and you can kind of tell what the bond market is thinking as far as the likelihood of a 0.75% hike or a full 100 basis points or 1 percentage point hike. And so I think the markets were somewhat relieved when it was announced at 2:00 this afternoon, taking the 1% off. But as far as mortgage rates, and we've covered this before, that was pretty much baked into the cake, so it really didn't impact rates. What we saw on the initial announcement, Lee, the bond market didn't like it, the mortgage market didn't like it so much, but then in the media section where they ask questions, that's when we started to get some interesting response about the mortgage-backed securities. We'll talk about that in a bit. But here in the screen, we talk about what that 0.75% did. And Lee, that's great you put that up here, because it does affect credit cards right away to auto financing. Mostly, when it affects mortgages, it's more around the HELOCs and adjustable rate mortgages. That's what really impacts that. More second mortgages, HELOCs are tied to prime. So we see a lot of change there. But other variable rate loans, they're impacted as well. That is correct. So, well, the mortgage, as far as the direct hit on mortgages, when he started to talk, when they had the press conference, Lee, they started talking about mortgage-backed securities and, reducing the balance sheet. And when they started talking about that, Chairman Powell said, hey, we're not anywhere near selling mortgages off our balance sheet. And what that would do is that would create more, more supply out there, and that would pressure rates up further. So the bond market liked that, and so less supply and the demand staying steady. So that actually improved rates. So we had a whipsaw effect. Rates went up at the announcement, and by the press conference, about halfway into that, approaching 3:00, we started to see an actual improvement, about 100%, 100-point swing in the price of a bond today. So interesting day over here.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I missed it because I was in the vet with Henry.
Oh, Henry.
Skin issues, yeah.
How's he doing?
Spending $600 on a dermatologist
for your dog.
For my dog.
Right.
They make dog insurance. It's better than ours, bro.
Oh, I know, right? And we get that dog insurance. See if I can get covered. So that dog's got it great.
Oh, dude, he has it made, man. You kidding me? He goes for massage and all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
Right.
All right. So anyway, so what did that cause? So I pulled up the Black Knight information today, and obviously rates are causing refis to drop at an all-time low. You can see that with the arrow there. Right. So refis are basically done. Cash pretty out refis, right?
Yeah, we're seeing some, situations where people bought all cash and they're looking to pull cash out because they, realize it's probably nice to have some pad. So we're doing a couple loans like that right now, and a couple of need-driven deals where someone's purchasing a business that someone else we're helping. So it's the cash out refis, kind of the extenuating circumstance, but the rate and term refis have pretty much, are non-existent right now. So,
and then affordability, that's another problem we're having right now. So yeah. With housing prices as high as they are, affordability levels are really, really bad right now. So you can see that, we're at pretty much the lowest level that we've been in since 1990 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's increasing inventory, definitely, which is not a bad thing right now, right?
Right.
So this came out at the end of August, and it was home prices fell for the first time in 3 years last month. This was August 24th. So now housing affordability is at lowest level in 30 years, requires 32.7% of the median household income to purchase the average home using 20% down payment on a 30-year mortgage, according to Black Knight. So that's what I just showed you was Black Knight. That is about a 13 percentage point more than it did entering the pandemic, significantly more than both the years before and after the Great Recession. So we're definitely in a housing affordability problem right now. There's no two ways about it.
Right. We're seeing it.
Right. Goldman Sachs warns home price growth expected to stall out in 2023. They said home price growth stall completely, averaging 0 in 2023. Goldman Sachs and now analysts said. So they're saying that this recessions and these rates aren't going to come down.
Yeah.
Recession's not going to end. Rates are going to come down. What's your opinion on that, Brent?
Well, Chairman Powell, he's been really, ever since Jackson Hole, that Jackson Hole meeting several weeks back, he's been pretty determined to fight inflation. That's really, he comes out swinging on that every time he speaks now, as well as the other Fed governors that speak at these different speaking engagements they go to. And so we're seeing that they really want to see it certainly decelerate and then reverse direction, right? They want to see it coming down. The first thing out of his mouth was inflation on the statement. The second thing, or in the press conference rather, he mentioned the housing sector specifically being the most impacted. So they're keeping an eye on it. It's a top of their list, kind of watching what that does as inventories start to increase. The home affordability issue, because that's really one of their mandates are these, right? It's full employment and price stability. In other words, a recession typically is considered when unemployment's going up and the economy slowing down, and inflation, of course, is when the economy is getting too hot. Employment's full, but then prices start to go up. All right, so it's keeping that balance. So that's their mandate, to full employment and price stability. And he's saying that price stability is more important to fight aggressively, because that's more painful to fix down the road.
Right.
And so that's kind of where he's taking it. So how much of that's jawboning and how much of it's real, I don't know. But the bond market, interestingly, we had a, like I said, a whipsaw effect. During the announcement, the 10-year Treasury went over 3.6, which it hasn't seen in years and years, and so like 11 years, something like that. And then the press conference went on, and they were talking about not even thinking about selling mortgage-backed securities off their balance sheet. Then the 10-year Treasury dropped all the way down to 3.4 something. Last I looked at it, so 3.47, I think, is when I last looked at it. So that's a big swing, and so that was a little bit of relief, because that would put more pressure on bonds and more supply, and that would drive rates up. So I think the bond market's pretty much, even though they're beating the drum pretty hard on this inflation thing, I just don't know how much more they can take rates up, where the affordability of homes and that becomes a serious issue, and there's a lot of political pressure there too, not to because the housing industry leads us out of a recession, and I think we're already in one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're not the only person that thinks that we're already in a recession.
Yeah.
So, they always tell us that we get these comments weekly that we're just trying to sell houses. So we're going to give you the ugly today too. So
Right.
Goldman Sachs also September 8th came out with this article. Expects home prices will fall 39% of U.S. cities next year. So while We think national home prices will likely avoid correction in 2023. We expect 39% of metropolitan areas to experience price declines, analysis from Goldman Sachs. So they expect the market to drop and see prices start to decline. These are the cities right now. Black Knight says that are declining already. So you can see San Jose, California is the biggest, right? So that's your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles. That's you, Brent, again.
Right.
Denver, Colorado. You know, Denver got really expensive.
Yeah.
I have a friend there, and you know, we were going to help him with his mortgage, and I have lots of friends there. I graduated high school there, but it's gotten really expensive. Like the prices really took off. Sacramento, California, Riverside, California, Phoenix, Arizona, Portland, Oregon, Washington, D.C., Minneapolis, Minnesota, Austin, Texas, Las Vegas, Raleigh, and Richmond. These are all places that we're getting. Richmond, Virginia. I'm not getting anybody there. Raleigh either, but one of my dear friends live there. That's where Kevin lives, is in Raleigh. But all those places we're getting clients from, Brent.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny as you were listing them off. I'm saying, yeah, we know these people.
How many people on right now are from one of these cities?
Right.
Drop a comment right now. Tell us how you're from one of these cities. So you can see that, you know, the market is starting to, you know, we're starting to see prices decrease in certain cities.
Yeah. There's no question about that. Yeah, you know, I'd be interested to see where, you know, New York and New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Chicago.
Well, the thing with those like New York, New Jersey, people are moving around those states, right? So they're moving out of the metropolitan areas and into the suburbs. So, you know, like, you know, we have clients coming from Long Island, and Long Island is still, the home prices are still going up.
Right.
So that market's pretty hot still. 1 in 5 home sellers is now dropping their asking price as the housing market cools. So the median list price in August was 14% lower than August 2021 and nearly 42% lower than August 2019. The average home sold for less than its list price for the first time in more than 17 months. Can you believe that, dude? We just went through this, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and then here's the thing. This was no fun for anybody. And you know, we hear this on the market news all the time. I know you and I agree on this, and probably most of the people on this agree that, I don't know if you do, but if you're seeing what happens when the Fed keeps rates lower and pumps money into the economy, this is what happens.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think a good healthy rate was around in the 4s, Brent.
Oh yeah, 4.5, 5. I mean, that's still historically very low, and it keeps the affordability index up. You know, I think what they've done so far as interest rates go, I mean, I think, you know, they're accomplishing what they wanted to accomplish in the housing sector, and I think that, you know, the problem is just supply. You know, I mean, there's 12 million.
The thing we're going to see in a slide here. We still have supply problems. I mean, here it is right here. I mean, we still have, it's, you know, supplies changing rapidly, but we still need inventory.
Yeah. 12 million households are going to be formed in the next 12 months in the United States. And what is it, 7 million units online, something like that. I mean, it just can't, you can't, you know, just too many people wanting homes and housing and just not enough
enough housing.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
and in Florida, it's worse because, you know, just the migration pattern, people coming here too, it adds to it, you know?
Right.
So
here, we'll just drop it in. Let's talk about it right now. Here it is right here. New Yorkers continue to stampede south as record numbers swap to Florida licenses. This came out yesterday. So here are the numbers on this. So it is all right. So driver's licenses swapped from New York was a record in August. Was 5,838 driver's license swapped from New York to Florida. New Jersey was 3,259, and California was 3,059, which is a record.
Yeah.
Year to date from New York, we have 41,885 driver's license swaps. Now, some of those obviously are going to be snowbirds that said, hey, let's just, stay here 6 months out of the year and save on taxes right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or just said, hey, we're going to stay down here and not come back. But some of the clients that we're getting, they're figuring out, if they don't have homestead exemption, they're staying here for 6 months to get the homestead exemption.
Right.
But this is an astounding number. So
it really is.
321,881 driver's license swaps already this year. That's record. Never happened.
Yeah. Lee, I think, there's a couple things going on. If you look at the big picture, demographically, there's baby boomers retiring. 10,000 people are turning 65 every day now. And I think as, that retirement age kind of kicks in, it's like, and they're going on fixed incomes, or, they've got a lot of equity in a home. They're saying, hey, when inflation's like it is, and just, the cost of living, and you might be sitting in $1 million home in New York, but, and you're getting, $3,000 in Social Security, it only goes so far,
Right.
And I think that Florida's, cost of living is still low, comparatively speaking. I know the locals feel differently here because they've seen such an increase in prices, over the last 3 years, but
Right.
2 or 3 years. But comparatively speaking, it's going to be an attractive place for people from all over the Northeast to come down and warmer weather, no income tax. I mean, just, it's just more affordable,
Right. And it's a nice place to live. I mean, we really only have June, July. Really, I mean, June's really not that hot. September is the worst. I mean, it's been hot.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty dry summer here.
Yeah.
July and August were fairly dry, so not a lot of humidity in the air, which is no hurricanes, right? So
right.
Low humidity means then more, Sahara dust. That's what Henry's dealing with. That Sahara dust is bad for their coats. So a lot of allergies in dogs, a lot of allergies in people. My allergies have been acting up, but the overall, it's been a fairly, nice summer. And, now we're raining every day, and we needed the rain because it was starting to get really, really dry out west. Because once the, hits the rain hits Lake Okeechobee, it kind of putters off, and then it's been hanging out over the ocean, not really coming inland. So people living in the farms and out west and where they have land, Loxahatchee, it's been very, very dry out there. So there's been fires, and so the rain has definitely been necessary to cool things off and get some. The grass was starting to die in people's yards out in the farms. So,
well, a lot of people are listening from out of state right now. I mean, I grew up in Ohio, and the humidity level's pretty similar there as it is
it's
here.
Terrible.
Yeah. I mean, you grew up in the Houston area, right, Lee?
I mean, terrible.
Yeah, the humidity there,
and the heat is out of control.
Yeah,
and then allergies are terrible in Texas. In Texas.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So let's look at this. So this is some information from Black Knight, just to kind of go. So they still believe the housing market is still extremely unaffordable. If sales continue to fall as rates seen over the last 4 months and inventory continues to build at current rates, here we go. We would cross the 6-month threshold by December, tipping the markets in favor of buyers for the first time in recent years. So, I'm anxious to see what happens here in Florida.
Yeah, me too.
If we can make it to a buyer's market. I think some places we will. I think I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but if you live west in West Palm Beach, where, Loxahatchee, that area, I think that you're going to see, if you don't see, I think you're going to see prices at best level off because there's so much more traffic out there. Avenir is that new community they're building out there. It basically starts at $1 million. They're giving, I think right now, $75,000 credits, and a free pool. So, that's right across from Ibis. So it's about from 95 to get there. You're about 20 to 30 minutes, given traffic, depending on what traffic's like. But that's the only way out by North Lake getting to Loxahatchee, where you have West Lake, which they've sold a ton out there because people were just buying and buying and buying. And I don't necessarily know if they were really thinking, because I actually talked to a couple of clients out of West Lake because I had them, time their drive,
right,
in the middle of the day, go time your drive. Because literally, if you're in West Lake and you need to get to West Palm, it's going to take you almost the same time it would from Port St. Lucie.
Right.
And I don't know. I just think that, me personally, Port St. Lucie is a better lifestyle. It's just, I love Miami. I love to go down to Fort Lauderdale and Delray. I just don't want to live. I don't like all the traffic. And I know for some people it doesn't matter. And, listen, if I could live in Miami or Delray, downtown, and live in a condo and, and scooter around and walk everywhere, that would be awesome. But I grew up in Houston, and I had tons of traffic in Denver, and I don't like all that traffic. But I know that for some people that don't mind.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful areas down there. It's all, how you want to feel.
It's relative too. When you're speaking to Californians right now, it's an hour commute each way is very normal for them. I commuted almost 2 hours each way at one point. And so, as far as, coming in from, like, say, a Westlake to working downtown West Palm, what are you looking at, Lee, to get downtown from Westlake?
At least 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okeechobee in the morning, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you're going to definitely have to go Okeechobee. It's beautiful. Listen, the homes are beautiful, but I think that market's definitely going to, we could probably see those markets start to, level out, where you're not seeing any, but you have so much equity in the house as it is. Even if it levels out for a while and lets incomes catch up and rates come down, you're still going to be in great shape.
Oh yeah. We did a loan. I've done, I think it's 2 loans for a client out in Loxahatchee, and I just can't believe the appraised value in the last 12 years. We did it when we first moved here. Man. Yeah. It's just,
well, look at the home I'm selling, and, he's got, over $400,000 of equity in the farms in 4 years.
Right.
So that
the higher rates.
Yeah.
Lee, I'll tell you, one of the things that happened this week, other than just the Fed meetings, obviously the big news, but this last week we had housing starts come out too.
Right.
And it's amazing. It came in much higher than expected. And you know what? 29% increase in multifamily.
Right.
I thought that was a notable thing to bring up tonight because, home builders they're saying, hey, let's build multifamily in the affordability thing because everyone has to live somewhere.
Right.
And the concern I have for people that are, have never owned a home, especially, I don't want them to get pushed out and be renters for the next 40 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think that there's going to be I hate to say this, but I think it's almost like sounding the warning. There's going to be a have and have nots. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's the middle class is really going to get beat up, I think, in this recession and inflation. It's
I know
tough.
you're in the mortgage business, but if you're on the subject, you see what's happening with Bank of America right now. We're getting back to zero down. They're actually making the down payment.
Right.
Now that's obviously for more lower income people. I mean, there's some things wrapped around that, but
yeah,
that gets a little scary when you start giving people houses for zero down.
They get into trouble. The same, the 2007, 2008
Right.
thing all over
And
again.
the other
Right.
thing that on that deal is they're not pulling your credit. They're looking at your rental history, your bills, things like that. So they're not running off your credit.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at, are you paying your bills?
Right.
So there's no credit score connected to it either.
Risky territory.
Right. I'm surprised it's Bank of America doing it, because look what happened with Countrywide. They bought up Countrywide and they took a bath.
Right.
Because all those homes foreclosed, every single one of them.
Yeah, very same reason they got in trouble, getting into those types of loans. And so I don't know, and there's a lot of things attached to those. I looked in depth on some of that, Lee, and it's not a lot of money allocated towards it, first of all, and then you have to
Worth the bond, definitely.
Yeah, you have to check all the boxes for sure, and there's geographic areas you have to buy in that aren't necessarily attractive places you'd want to live necessarily too. So
right.
There's some things like that attached, but certainly it's give them a call and see if it's something that you're interested in doing. There's only like 5 major cities. I think Miami is the closest city that's offering it right now.
Right.
But yeah, it's
well, it's because Miami's so stinking unaffordable, man. It's like unbelievable.
Right.
Now this Hometown Heroes, if you know somebody that is any medical industry, they could be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to be certified in any medical, law enforcement, teachers, firefighters. You can be a massage therapist, and you can get the Hometown Heroes here in Florida. I just got my son approved on that Hometown Heroes, and that's really neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's going to buy a house. I'm going to kick in. Obviously he's my son. He gets all my commission. But if somebody throws agent throws 25% at that, then somebody can buy a home. And I'm surprised that there's not that many agents that really know anything about it. But that's a great program for But obviously, again, that's a bond, and it's through U.S. Bank.
Yeah. And you've got a few, there are some first-time home buyer programs that are really attractive, and you just have to fall into the box. You know what I mean?
Right.
As far
This
as
one, you can't have owned a home for 3 years. Now you could have a home in your name, but you can't have lived in it. You could be co-signed on it, but you can't live in it. You could be on the deed, but you just can't. 3 years, you can't live in it. So,
right.
That throws a lot of people out. And there is a credit requirement, and there is an income requirement on it. But and the income goes up to like $130,000, so which is really great. Yeah. So on this one, let's talk about it. With the bad news, we're still seeing national home price decline of 5% would result in just a 0.9% of homes becoming underwater. So we're not even close to where we are in 2008. So people thinking, okay, we're seeing home prices drop, we're seeing rates go up, we're in a recession. We still have people have a lot of equity in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're 5% decline, you're not even at 1% of all the homes in the homeowners in the United States. Right. So we'd have to see a massive crash. And I just don't see that happening with all this equity in homes. So even if someone lost their job and they couldn't afford their home, they're going to be able to sell it and pull all that equity out of it. If they've been in it for more than 2 years, they're sitting on $100,000. I mean, in a $300,000 townhome, we have clients sitting in $100,000 worth of equity.
Right.
So that is good news there. And then this article came out on the 9th, confused about what the home market, here's housing market, here's what's happening now and what could happen next. So active inventory is still 43% lower than it was in 2019. So there you are, right?
Yeah,
New
right.
listings were also down 6% at the end of September, meaning potential sellers are now concerned as they see more houses sit on the market longer. So sellers are now taking their homes off the market, and we're going to wrap this up at the end of it. But yeah, Gerard says, here we go. 2 more residents will be switching their license over from New York to Florida.
Welcome, Gerard. That's great. Settle him in.
Yeah.
Great guy.
So anyway, so, that is good news for the market. But then here comes back with, this is Goldman Sachs. U.S. housing market downturn worsens in 2023. So again, expect price growth to stall, completely averaging 0% in 2023. While outright declines in national home prices are possible, they appear quite unlikely for some reasons, but large declines seem unlikely.
Yeah.
Because of inventory being so tight.
Right. And household formation,
Right.
there's the lateral move is out of the question now too. I mean, no one's going to move. I just want to move across town closer to my work.
That's not happening.
It's not happening. If you're leaving a home you paid for $300,000, you're not going to pay $600,000 and pay a 6% rate. So,
right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the good things that can happen. All right. So, let's this happened in 2008, but we're not going to see as dramatic of a shift. But if sellers don't, I misspelled that. Sellers don't rent, they'll sell it. They'll rent instead of selling. So you're going to see more and more sellers putting their homes on the rent. And you and I have talked about this. There's going to be 2 other opportunities I think you're going to see. Especially if we roll into a buyer's market or get into a market that's even, a balanced market. We're going to be able to, buyers are going to be able to get a credit from a seller.
Right.
So, so where are we at today in rates?
We're right after the meeting today. I think we're going to fall right around 6 1/8, 6 1/4.
Okay. So if somebody got a $10,000 credit, that's going to bring them down in the low 5s, right?
Yeah. If they can buy the rate down, well, they can do a 2-1 buy down. That would do the job. For the first 2 years, and then hopefully rates would improve.
Explain that 2-1 buy down again.
Yeah. So what we do, and it's based on, and the credit would depend on the dollar amount too. But just very generally speaking, something in the neighborhood of a $10,000 credit from the seller right now in the $300,000-$400,000 loan amount range is going to take a loan that's say it's 6 1/4. It's going to have a start rate of 4 1/4. So you're going to pay 4 1/4 the first year, 5 1/4 the second year, and then it goes up to the full 6 1/4 the third year on. It's not an adjustable rate. It just buys that first 2 years down. That the thought being the seller doesn't have to definitely lower the price. It's a huge benefit to the buyer, and helps them with a lower payment for the first few years. But then the thinking is rates are going to go up, but they're also going to go down.
Right, they are.
Right. And so as recession comes in, that's, if you look at the charts, you'll see that when a recession is called, and it's an official recession, then they begin to taper the increases in the rate, certainly, and then at some point reduce rates, start cutting them. So that's just a matter of time.
Right. And then, demand's increasing. Demand will start increasing more. So people will move over to rentals, right? And then we'll have more inventory, right? So, that's going to slow down that increasing demand. So that's going to slow prices down, which I really believe prices need to slow down.
They want to slow down. They talked about these.
I mean, you're going to price out the entire country.
Yeah. I mean, Jerome Powell, he was like, deceleration of the prices was something he was looking to do. I mean, it's not sustainable. He just used that word. And so, and of course it's not. And so, at some point in time, we've got to, say, hey, what's normal? 4 or 5% a year, appreciation's wonderful. That's great.
Right.
You want to kind of get back to that market. That's balance.
Right. So I think, for buyers out there, sellers right now, you're going to have to get I think you're going to have to get real with your pricing. You're not going to be able to overprice your house, but I wouldn't underprice it either. I wouldn't take less than, what it's worth.
Right.
But we were pricing houses a little under and getting a bidding war started. I think I'm anxious to see what happens. I don't know. I'm going to sit here and tell everyone I have no idea what's going to happen in October, November.
Right.
And then we'll see, obviously December, the market will run October, November, December to Christmas. And then the market is slow. January, February will be a slow months like this, coming back into the fall is for summer. And then we're going to see a new market and what's happening there. But I'm anxious to see what happens in October and November with the market, because I know I have some clients coming to town. I know that people are starting to buy. I also know that a lot of buyers and sellers took a break over the summer because the market, it was just such a crazy real estate market.
Yeah.
So they kind of just took a break.
People gave up. I mean, after 20 offers on every property within 2 hours, I mean, it just got so silly. It's like, it's got, I think that, so having some choices, having some negotiation powers, like you say, seller credits and things like that, what the builders are doing right now, they're, I've never been beaten out by a builder's lender, and they're really competitive right now.
Right.
I mean? They're really getting competitive because they don't want to lose the transaction. They're more concerned about selling the home, and then they have an eye on that loan all the way through, and they know that, they have the assurance that it's closing before they make any custom, finishes especially towards the end.
Right.
I
will tell you that these publicly traded companies, they're going to be December, they're going to get really aggressive because they got to hit their target numbers.
Right.
Because that's the end of the year for them. Mattamy Homes, totally different situation. So if you're looking in Port St. Lucie, I mean, they're offering pretty good, substantial credits right now, though, also.
Right.
And for cash buyers also.
One buyer I spoke to, she said she's familiar, and she's, is going to put a lot of the upgrades in herself after the fact, and, the finish work towards the very end. And she has her own contractors. And that's one way to kind of like, hey, I don't need your credit, I'll do the loan through you, Brent, type of things, what she's doing. But, but it's, by and large, they're just very, very competitive right now, which we hadn't seen, until this actually last several weeks.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, we can wrap this up a little earlier tonight, but I would say that, to end this out, I think that, take your time. If you're buying right now in the market, find the house you like. Don't, if you can't get the price you want, walk away. I think there's enough inventory out there. I mean, even in Jupiter and Tequesta and, Palm Beach Gardens, these are super hot markets. Delray, Boynton, Wellington. There's enough inventory now that you can pick and choose what you're buying. So, also I would definitely, this comes into play with you, and you can talk a little bit more about this. We talked about this before, but shop your rate definitely right now. And with you're a mortgage broker, so you can shop the rate for someone without them having to actually do all that shopping themselves.
Right. Yeah, we can place it with the investor with the best pricing for them. And I put a video out, Lee, that, difference between a mortgage broker and a bank this last week. And it's, it's getting some traction because it's a lot of questions around that. We're not a middleman. We just take on a different function. We do that upfront work where they buy a whole loan from us. And so it's that's how we actually work more efficiently, and can sell a whole loan to a bank versus have them run the whole process of origination, underwriting, processing, all of that, and coordinating all that. So,
and I think too, there's an option for if you're renting right now and you're in a house, your landlord's sitting on a ton of equity, see if they might carry the note for you.
Right. Absolutely. We're seeing situations like that. I'm helping someone buy a business right now. They want to pull cash out of their home for a business, and in this market, the seller of the business is going to do that very thing. They're going to carry the majority of it. And so, I think that market is certainly, especially like if you're a tenant and you'd like to purchase the home you're in, that's a great solution.
Right. Yeah. So That's all I've got for tonight, except for the fact that this is streaming on your channel tonight also. So we're changing up a little bit what we're doing with our channels. You've got your YouTube channel's growing well right now, Brent.
Yeah. Well, thanks to you, Lee. Thanks for all your tutelage.
Yeah.
I appreciate you teaching me.
So if you put in Brent Starts Unitas Lending, your channel comes up. Also, it'll be we'll put it in it's on my channel, and we'll put it in the information section here. And then you can watch stream on Brent's channel. And we are now calling this the Florida Home Buyer Podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. So,
well, thank you, Lee, for all the work you did in putting this together. It's a lot, and doing my own. It's like you get a feel for what you've done to put this all together. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
I really like this, what we do here, because I think we're helping a lot of people, and, we get a lot of calls from people that, aren't even buying from us or doing a mortgage with you. And then we're getting people that are coming to us from this. And also we're able to keep people up to date. So I really enjoy doing this Wednesday night thing, and we're just growing it, and we're going to drop it in. We're going to take 4 or 5 of these and drop them into podcasts and start our own podcast too. So we're trying to grow here. Yeah. So if you like this, then please hit that like button. And also, if you have not subscribed to Brent and I's channel, make sure you subscribe to both channels and hit the bell so that you don't miss any of our real estate tips and tours. And I think that's going to wrap it up, Brent, for tonight. So be kind to each other, because it's tough out there. It keeps getting tougher. It's going to be tough for a while, I think. And so we'll just get through it together, and we'll keep bringing this to you every Wednesday, and we'll keep putting videos out to educate you on the Florida market.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's it. If nobody has any questions and you're done, Brent, let's call it.
I'm all set. Sounds good.
All right. All right. Talk to you later, and have a nice evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.